Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
My name is Corey Maxfield, and this is the Paradisa Pier. This was built over the course of about 3 years with a friend of mine, Mason Hall. We really wanted to lean into the Paradisa theme. That was really important to us. As a kid, I was too cool to play with Paradisa, but I wanted my sisters to have them so I could secretly play with them. Plus, we didn't have any girl minifigs, so all the guys in our space bases got really lonely, so we needed girlfriends for our spacemen, and Paradisa provided that opportunity.
Yeah, I've never seen someone lean into the theme to this level. You see maybe some occasional little vignettes or sets from this theme, but it's definitely one of the lesser known ones. So when you had this idea, where did you guys kind of start with and build out from?
So the first thing that was built was the sign here. Mason built that sign, and it is actually in the Paradisa font. So the side of the pier there was the first thing that got built, and that determined how far out we had to come, how big the pier was going to be, and then it snowballed from there.
Okay, so we can talk a little bit more about the pier then, because this is definitely one of the coolest parts of the build. Just, the architectural details, and then obviously all of the interior details as well.
Yeah, I'll let Mason speak to that.
Well, if you can see, we built this on an octagon, which really isn't something you see too often. LEGO really does not like you building in octagons. But if you take a look at the sides, we ended up using the window panes with the 3 parts. We ended up using the window panes with the 3 different sections. And all that is hooked together basically with bars and clips. And it's really quite sturdy for what it is. And then on the inside, we had just the different sort of restaurant people and the different chefs. And then Corey here helped hook up all the lighting into the chandeliers, which I thought turned out really quite nice. It really illuminates everything.
Yeah, and the most amazing thing is this is all built on its side, right? So these are 6x4 windows that have been turned sideways. Whole thing is just clips and bars holding this together. It's incredible. So this is kind of the crown jewel, I think, and it's closest to the crowd, so it's easier for them to see it and look inside and observe all the detail. But when we were trying to decide what to do with the rest of it, we drew inspiration from boardwalks and piers from all over the country. So the boardwalk, my original idea comes from Ocean City, Maryland. The hotel, the Sunset Hotel, similar to a building structure that's in Clearwater, Florida. The gift shops from the Redneck Riviera, Gulf Coast of Florida. Just all of those key elements of what makes a good pier, boardwalk, amusement park combination.
And your roller coaster here, which looks fantastic, but occasionally needs a little bit of help to get going as well.
Yep, and we wanted to do something different that hadn't been done with the roller coaster before, which was 2 important elements. One, doing a complete vertical rise, which we hadn't seen done before, as well as having them go upside down, not in a loop, but in an inverted drop. I'm going to give this a little bit of help over the top here because we had a wheel pop off there.
What are the challenges here that you've been facing as this has been running at the show?
Lego, even Lego's official roller coasters will not run for more than 30 minutes without having problems, right? You have to push everything back down. And so we're running it for 8 hours a day. So gears wearing out, chains wearing out, and just if everything doesn't line up just right or it starts to come apart a little bit, we're constantly pressing things back down, pushing them together so that it doesn't derail. We killed a lot of minifigures yesterday. Our insurance premiums have gotten ridiculous.
But it's a really neat loop. So, like you said, you've got kind of the straight up section there, which is obviously a difficult thing to achieve. But then what's the rest of the track like?
Yeah, so we wanted to go through the haunted house. We thought that was kind of a cool thing to add a little bit of fear, an extra section. Also, that was a space limitation, right? We couldn't have it go around, so we're like, well, I guess we're going to go right through the middle. And then the inverted turn at the top, having that rise all the way to the top, and then it hesitates, and then it drops down. And that's why we call it over the rainbow, is because you really go straight up and then drop.
And then you mentioned the haunted house there. Talk a little more about that design as well, because you've got so many lights and details there.
Yeah, so the haunted house, the name Terror actually comes from one of our, here locally in Salt Lake City, we have the Terror ride at Lagoon. And it has the letters like that kind of rotate and look interesting. And so that's where we drew the name from. And then there's got the vampires in the upstairs floor. And wiring all of that was very tricky because there's so many wires, but you don't see any of them, right? All the lighting, we've hidden the wires really, really well, and it gives it that spookiness that every amusement park needs a good haunted house, and it really anchors the because you have like the roller coasters, but they're very thin, and so having that building to anchor it in the middle really provides a point of focus.
What are the other rides and kind of games that you have around there?
Yeah, so we've got the Ferris wheel. Also done in Paradisa colors. We really wanted to lean into that pink and pastel green. Obviously the roller coaster. And then the games. We wanted those classic Carnival games that everybody knows. You look at it, you instantly know it. There's the ladder climb that nobody can win because it flips over on you. The ring toss, also impossible to win. But they do have the big prizes hanging underneath there, so you can think you're going to win and then not win.
So enticing.
Yeah, and then we have a Zoltar underneath the middle there where you can get your fortune read. There's a crane game. We've got a ticket booth, obviously, and then another 2 classics, which is the balloon darts and the knocking the milk bottles over with a baseball. So we've got that in the back.
Incredible work here all around. So that kind of covers the left side. Before I move on, though, I want to talk about kind of the seawall design there. So what pieces did you use there? Because that is a very unique look.
Yeah, so those are the new like 1 by 1 by 2/3 convex round pieces. And if you line them up, then you just get big, long, it's a long, and we want it to look like rock. So we offset them all by 1 plate. So it gives it that rock wall effect. And then it allows us to write the name of the amusement park, which is Dolphin Point, which is the name of one of the Paradisa sets, which is why we chose that name. And so by doing the zigzag and then the Dolphin Point in there, it really does look like a rock wall as opposed to, just a bunch of Lego pieces put on there. So.
And with the roller coaster, with the straight up section and even kind of the inverted turn there, how does it stay on the track? What are the elements under there so it's not flying off?
Honestly, we got lucky is what happened. So when it does the inverted drop and goes underneath like that, it's just the hooks on the bottom of the carts that are keeping it on there. That's it. Getting enough momentum and those hooks under there, keep it, as long as you keep it pretty centered, they don't fly off. And it's surprisingly consistent. We are as surprised as you are that it doesn't come off. Like every time somebody doesn't die is a good day. And so we really just got fortunate that it works the way it does.
There's been some trial and error.
Just a little bit of extra help every now and then.
Yep, every once in a while we got to give a little nudge. We got to press everything back down again, pinch it together to make sure that it's not coming apart.
So we can turn our attention kind of outside the theme park area now, starting with kind of the building on the left, so we can make our way down.
I'll let Mason talk to the first building.
All right. So at this section, we have a rental shop. We decided to put a lot of the sort of recreation stuff in this area, along with the sort of a, I don't know if you'd say a town square, but it's sort of just a little square where people can, socialize and meet up. Next to this, we have the gift shop. We have the gift shop here that sells a lot of the aquatic wear and gear. Next to that, we have the Heartbreak Cafe, which is roughly based off of one of the older Paradisa sets with the dome and the parrots. And also next to that, if you'll notice, we have the pizzeria, which is roughly based off of a pizzeria that LEGO produced back in the 90s, kind of around the same era. So we wanted to have an homage to that as well within the display. Next to that, we have the Sunset Hotel, and that was kind of one of our big corner pieces that we wanted to really display and show off. Within all of these buildings, though, all of them are separately lit. Lighting was a big part of our entire display and what we wanted to showcase, and it's kind of been a big part of most of our displays as of recently. So we really enjoyed doing that as well. Each section also is broken apart into different wiring kits, or wiring plugs, I guess you could say, where they can be disconnected and connected whenever we need to move the display. Along with that, we have just a variety of different minifigures, kind of dating back to that Paradisa era, especially some of these figures with the classic pink torsos. in the red swimsuits, and just a lot of those details we wanted to incorporate to kind of get that old classic 90s Malibu feel.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for giving us an overview of the buildings there. So I also wanted to ask about the color scheme here. So I know Paradisa has kind of like a unique color scheme to it. So talk about kind of how you guys captured that.
Yeah, so one of the important things we wanted to make sure that it was Paradisa and not Friends. And how do we draw that distinction? And one of the ways that we do that is when Paradise sets came out, LEGO had not yet introduced brown or purple into its color scheme. Even their sand beaches were done in yellow. We did not do that because it's ugly. But we limited our use of purple and our use of brown and really leaned into medium green, which is this, the green color here. And then also the pale pink, not the new pink that was introduced in 2005, but the older pink. And by incorporating as many of those pieces as we could, we really lean into Paradisa and not Friends. And really with the medium green, they only produce that part in maybe 30 different unique parts. So we had to find creative ways to introduce those elements even where in places where it may not have made sense, just so we could get enough of that green in there to say this is a Paradisa set. This is not, this is not Friends.
How many people from the public come by and remember the theme or recognize what it's based off of?
I am shocked at how few LEGO fans know what it is. And we're still arguing about whether it's Paradisa or Paradisa, tomato. We got to call the whole thing off. But yeah, there are some public who come by and they're like, I had those sets, like women specifically. They're like, I had those sets as a kid, and so it's cool to see people remember that because it is sort of a forgotten theme, going back, and so we're glad to bring that back and just kind of remind people a little bit, and it just has such a whimsical feel to it that is hard to capture, but I love what we've done with it.
What was your approach with the water out here? Because there are many different ways that kind of builders approach doing large sections of water like this.
So happy accidents. I started putting 1x1 round trans blue studs on every stud on the base plate. And after doing one base plate, I was like, this is going to take forever. I'm not doing this. So I started just doing every other one. Well, I got that much done because we thought maybe we'll put other stuff in between there. Mason came over, and he was looking at it. He's like, oh, were you planning on sticking a tile on there and leaning it down? And I was like, yes, that's what we were going to do. And what's amazing about it is even though it was really just to save pieces and save time, because you've angled them all down, it creates a shimmer effect on the water. It uses less pieces, and when the lights are out specifically and all the lighting hits it, it sparkles like the ocean would. Last night, they had the lights out event. We turned the lights off. It actually looked better in the dark than it did in the daylight, which normally is not a compliment, especially for a woman. But it really just popped. We were surprised at how good it looked in the dark because we'd never seen it all put together, lit up the way it was. And it really highlights the areas you want people to look at and de-emphasizes maybe the ocean and some other stuff.
I also wanted to make sure we showed behind in some of these buildings if we can walk back there. So I know there's detailed interiors in a lot of these, so you just got to be careful moving back here. But if you can, maybe take us through the details back here.
Sure. So in the hotel lobby, we have one of my favorite details in there is a glass coffee table. So it's the glass pane that goes in the 4x6 windows, but it's actually only held up at the corners. We ripped the levers out and used those clips to hold it up. But it's a nice little lobby area there. We've got people with suitcases. And we made sure specifically we use CRT monitors at the check-in desk because this is 1992 after all. And then if we move to the pizzeria, so you can see there's a real pizza oven. We've got a pizza oven in there. And we put the flickering yellow and orange LEDs in there. And so you can see the flames reflect off of the chef's face as he's putting the pizza in the oven. Just a lot of cool detail. There's wine bottles in there. It really looks just like a pizzeria in there. And then we have the Heartbreak Cafe up top here. Obviously based on the poolside cafe from Paradisa. So we have the parrots in the windows and then people eating pastries and you've got your hostess station where he's checking people in and getting people situated and muffins being baked. And then we have a surf shop. Every pier needs a good surf shop. So we've got people buying wetsuits and other things you might need for surfing, surfboards. And then we have our ice cream parlor. Lots of flavors in there and the signs on the wall and all the different, flavor options, stuff like that. Tried to use a very whimsical color scheme with the pink and the medium azure. And then we moved to the gift shop. This is very similar to the gift shops you see on the Gulf Coast of Florida, where they sell just cheap towels, cheap swimsuits, sunglasses, hermit crabs, like literally anything you could want to buy, sand toys. And so we've got a rotating, sunglass rack, and then like T-shirts and all the extra stuff you might want in there. And then we move into the rental shop. So this is where you're going to come and rent your paddleboard, windsurfing, surfboards. You can rent bikes for riding along the pier, kind of everything else that you might need. And then, of course, our statue here in the middle. We were trying to figure out what really captures Paradisa, and the parrot, is a classic piece. And so we made a larger statue version of that to go right in the square there.
And on this side, you get a great view of that lettering you did on the pier as well, which is fantastic with the seafood word there.
I wish I could take credit for it. That was all Mason. I told him, I had this idea. I had the ropes. I thought maybe I could do cursive. And he's like, give me those. And he took it. And he had the patience to twist them and everything. And it really, you get a lot of compliments on that, because it's not something we've ever seen done before, doing cursive with Lego, right?
I'm very happy with that, how that came out as well.
Great work. And this on the pier here is kind of a throwback to maybe more of what the original sets looked like a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a little, flower shop where you can buy flowers. We just wanted to have a little more on the pier and didn't want it to be so empty. And so adding that in there with little kind of kitschy things that people might buy while they're on vacation, and then, the flowers, and using, once again, the pale pink as much as we could to really, and all along the pier we use the classic flowers, right? We wanted to update it, but also pay tribute to the original Paradisa theme.
So what was that collaborative process like for both of you guys as you worked on this together? Is this the first time you've had the whole thing set up together?
So one thing that really bothers me is when you see a collaboration and one person built half, the other person built half, and you bring it together, and yes, it goes together, but it's kind of like having two different artists paint half the picture and pull it together. It's not going to be cohesive. And so when we collaborate in the same room together. So he comes over to my house once a week, and we just spend time building. And it's so great to be able to make those decisions in person and say, hey, what do you think we should do for this? How should we handle this? Or like we've all done, we get stuck, right? You get I can't figure this out. And then be able to ask somebody and just say, hey, what do you think? Well, have you tried this? Oh, duh. It was right in front of me, right? So yeah, our collaborative process is extremely collaborative in the sense that we do everything in the same room so that the whole build has a very cohesive look and feel. It helps that we have similar building styles, but still, if we were to build these in separate components, it would not fit together the way it does now.
I think both of you did an excellent job here. It's so cool to see a unique take on an old theme like this and done in such a large fashion here. So do you know how many pieces are in the build at all overall?
I mean, just blue tiles, there's 8,000. So we're guessing there's probably about 40,000 pieces in here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, fantastic work, and can't wait to see what you guys do in the future. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.